Hey, this is Mike from Sports Psych Mike, and thank you once again. This is episode number 2 of the Big Four sports psychology mental skills techniques that you can use to integrate sports psychology skills into your sport business and or life. We're going to jump right in it. If this is your first time listening to one of these mini webinars, what I would like to suggest is go back to the first one where your thoughts affect your performance. And it's going to give you a little bit of high level overview of myself and Sport Psych Mike and what we can provide. Here is the quick screen grab. This is who you're talking to, Mike Hatfield. I'm a dissertation away from my doctorate in sports psychology. That is my family at the top of the screen. I have experience as a Marine and working with elite level warriors throughout the United States and internationally as well as embassy personnel. I played soccer and ran track at High Point University and have coached a variety of sports with my specific sport uh, for the sport that I have coached the most would be soccer. So let's get right into the big four. We covered thoughts in episode 1. Here we're going to cover attention in episode 2 of the two of the four big four mental skills techniques. Let's jump right into it with the warm up. This is going to be fairly simple today. All I want you to do is simply write down your initial thoughts. And yes, this is going to be pretty much a standard thing that we do on a regular basis. So just take 15 seconds with the nice little piece of paper and pencil that you have in front of you and write down your initial thoughts about today's session, raw and uncensored. All right, great. So when we think of attention, it means a lot of different things, and we're not going to be able to cover everything from a cognitive standpoint about attention in this short session. But from a performance standpoint, we will be talking about attention specifically and how to direct it to what is important now and how to identify when your mind is wandering so that you can bring your attention back to what is important. This has been something that I've taught for a number of years, but really seemed to hit home over the past 3 to 4 years working with the military. Some of the most elite warriors in the world. And I had a group that came up to me, and one guy in particular came up to me and says, Mike, I didn't really believe in any of this. And he paused. He said, any of this mind crap that you were teaching us. But I figured I had to be out here. I may as well get a physical workout, and I may as well do my best to understand. And then he threw himself into it wholeheartedly. Now, you're talking about guys that work in some of the highest performing teams in the world. Absolutely remarkable feats of mental toughness and accomplishment. And we're willing to roll up their sleeves and learn a little bit more um, about how to control the mental processes to make them better. Any slight edge, literally for them, is going to mean life or death. So, how are they able to put all of their focus and their thought processes and energy in a particular direction? And we would teach them in a systematic manner using sports psychology skills how to do that. Sometimes focus demands total concentration. Sometimes it means you have to have situational awareness and be able to see the entire field, or in their case, an entire country or village, or, well, you're not going to see an entire country, but you have to be able to have what we would coin as mental agility. How do you shut yourself off from anything that might be a distraction while still being aware of what's happening around you at all times? So you can go from a narrow focus to a broad focus to where you are not oblivious, but you're able to tune out the things that aren't relevant to you for that particular performance. And this set of skill, this particular skill of attention, is exactly the same thing that you're going to learn today. Nothing from a rocket science standpoint. Should be easy to tell you about, easy for you to understand how to do, difficult for you to implement on a regular basis, and difficult in the sense that as human beings, we tend to be lazy and we like to talk about things versus doing. So I'm going to challenge you when you walk away from today to have a clear cut plan of how you're going to implement practice. So, with that being said, how many of you actually have tried motivation? And I get that this is going to be recorded for many of you, so I can't see your hands being raised, but I want you to take a second and you think about whether you've tried meditation or not. Now, how many of you were able to meditate effectively? Yeah, so there's the rub, effectively. And so what happens is often when something is difficult, we just stop doing it right away and we want to move on. Um, we're going to teach you how to strengthen your attentional endurance at an incremental level and then measure your progress along the way. And then within about 3 to 4 weeks, if you're doing this pretty well, you're going to start to see significant changes. There's some really, really powerful benefits of attention training. And yes, I said meditation before because honestly, this is the beginning of meditation. And if you're not on board with that, tough, then get on board because meditation is where it's at if you want to be a high performing athlete. So, some of the benefits that you're looking at today are going to reduce anxiety, reduce depression, you're going to increase your tolerance for people, refs, bad calls, foul play, etc. We're going to maybe touch on some of this, the benefits that you're going to increase memory or working memory capacity. Definitely how you can increase your self awareness. Um, if soccer, there's a lot going on the field at all times, and a lot of things you have to be able to toggle from or have the mental agility to go from item to item. And then, while this is not the purpose of today, I will touch on how goals direct your attention to what is important now. So, everything begins and ends with attention. I'm going to repeat that. Everything begins and ends with attention. Everything that we do. We talked about how our thoughts affect our performance, and the reason they affect our performance is because we as human beings have the right, or the ability to choose which of those attention or those thoughts we pay attention to. So if we're too focused on the past, could lead to depression. If we're too focused on the future, could lead to anxiety, or now we're talking about self-doubt or lack of confidence, which I guess are the same things. So we have the ability to choose what we pay attention to. And I would say that everybody, to a certain degree, has the ability to strengthen this. There's a guy by the name of William James back in the 1800s who came up with, uh, I don't know if it's some of the first research on attention. It has been exhaustive, but I really like this quote. So I'm going to let you read it and read it at the same time. The faculty of voluntarily bringing back a wandering attention over and over again is the very root of judgment, character, and will. An education which should improve this faculty would be the education par excellence. So, what we're talking about today is recognizing when your mind is going to wander because it will wander, and sometimes that is a good thing. But can you strengthen it to where you have control over the mental agility that it wanders and you can refocus when it is important to have your attention on something? And the part that is the very root of judgment, character, and will, impulse control issues, character issues, life issues, are all a direct result of where your attention is or is not. So William James is pretty much the man. Here is your first test. Okay, are you ready? I want you to sit comfortably. You don't have to sit up ramrod straight, but just be comfortable. And all I want you to do is focus your attention on this red dot. Ready, go. and stop. Okay, what I want you to do with your pencil and piece of paper is write down how difficult you felt that was, and write down how long you think that was. So it was 60 seconds. And yes, sitting here in a short webinar and having you sit still staring at a dot for 60 seconds, it might have, some of the thoughts might have come to mind that you're questioning what the heck is going on in this webinar. But this is a very, very, very valuable test and skill for you to be able to do. And typically we're running this at about 3 minutes. And we're standing up in the top of an auditorium with 300, 400, 500 people in front of us. And after about 60 seconds, which is the length of the test that I just gave to you, we start to see people fidgeting in their chairs. After about 90 seconds, you start to see people look around, and usually within about 2 minutes, someone in the room is looking at their watch, looking at one another, they're whispering, their attention has been broken, and now they want to know what the heck is going on. 60 to 90 seconds is all we're talking about. Yet many of you, your sports last for hours at a time. So if this 60 seconds was difficult for you, fine, it doesn't matter, but now you know where to start. So at the end of this, I would set a timer for 3 minutes, and I'll have some practice sheets. Set it on your phone, start it, stare at the test, and then see how difficult 3 minutes is for you. If 3 minutes is easy, then the next time you do 4, and the next time you do 5, and you always want to be pushing yourself to be able to strengthen the mind when it comes to mental skills. That's from lesson 1. Hopefully you picked up on that. I'll cover that more in detail later on in the webinar. And if you have any questions, feel free to give me a shout. But this is one of the most important aspects that you can do. And then if it's coupled with the magic elixir, which is going to be diaphragmatic breathing, we will talk about in lesson 3, then you're really in the elite level performance of borderline meditation, or a type of meditation, and it will set you far apart when it comes to other individuals who aren't doing it. So here is an attention practice sheet, which is available in the workbook that we have. But so originally, if I haven't worked with somebody before, I want you starting at 3 minutes, not for 5 minutes. 5 minutes can be a little bit long for the newbie, if you will, the rookie, but you have to be the judge. I don't want you doing this the first time and being so frustrated that you don't want to do it again. So the idea is to struggle, but not go to the point of utter frustration and you walk away thinking that this is stupid and you're not going to do it. So when your mind wanders to that point of frustration, to simply stop and look at the timer. Look at the timer and then write down whatever day of the week it is. You write down the time on the stopwatch. If it's 16 seconds or 30 seconds, and your mind will wander. It's not a matter of if. When it wanders to the point where it becomes frustrating and you questioning yourself and you feel that your thoughts are starting to take over, that's when I want you to stop. So week 1, after that initial baseline test, I want you to push 1 minute past that comfort zone, whatever that time is for you. So if it's 90 seconds, then you're doing 2.5 minutes. Simple, right? All right, after week 2, and I want you conducting this for at least 5 of the 7 days in week 1. Everybody has 5 minutes to be able to do this. Then I want you to walk outside, but not outside where there's tons of activity that's going to distract you. I want you to walk outside, preferably in a wooded area that's semi-quiet. And then close your eyes and do the same test. You can set the alarm on your phone, and if the alarm goes off before you look at it, then good for you, increase it by a minute as well, and record those times. And last, do the exact same thing, running the test in a coffee shop. However, this time I probably open my eyes. I don't know if I want you sitting in a coffee shop for 10 minutes, closing your eyes, although feel free to do it either way. Eyes open or eyes shut. Just pick a location. If you have the computer up, then you can pick the red dot here. Any location on a wall or something that's not going to move that you can lock your attention on that won't be distracted is fantastic. All right. Hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, of course, let us know. But this is one of the best ways to increase your attentional endurance, and the benefits are off the charts because attention leads to working memory, which leads to memory, which leads to situational awareness, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of benefits that come from this. All right, so now let's talk about a thing that we call controllables, what you can and cannot control. Back to our thoughts affect performance model of what we do and do not control. Yep, you guessed it, thoughts, the only thing that we control. If you haven't seen that model, then go back to it. But the concept is that there are certain things that are in your control, and basically, looking at this green dot, the only thing you control is you. And when I say you, I mean your thoughts. And then those thoughts, based on your values, your attitudes, and your beliefs, are going to drive your effort. They're going to drive your overall behavior. They're going to drive your actions, whether you're going to be a good team member or not. The things that are outside of your control are everything outside of you. Let me repeat that. The things that are outside of your control are everything outside of you. I don't care if you're a kid, you're a youth, you're a teenager, you're in college, you're an adult, you're a parent, you're a grandfather. We think that we control things in our lives, other people. We do not. The only thing that we ultimately can control is ourselves, and most of us have a very, very difficult time with that. All right, so things outside of our control that could pop up, other people, yet they still irritate us, right? Driving in traffic, somebody irritates you and you go off. Yesterday I was watching Copa America last night, Uruguay versus Mexico, and the first thing that happened is the national anthem was the wrong national anthem. It seemed, it's hard to tell, but it seemed that that kind of thing could have carried over for the Uruguayan team. Then at the end of the match, and you can probably Google this if you want to, watch how the players bum rush the referee. The referee, they make calls, and it doesn't matter. I've never seen a call overturned in my life, and I've played soccer for over 30 years. It is a waste of time and energy to argue with the referee, other than the fact it's just going to irritate them. So other people's actions include those referees, and bad calls are just a part of the game. Can you switch from whatever that happened? What can I do in that particular moment to increase my effort, to improve my attitude, and make sure that I am being a good teammate, which means I'm not distracted by stupid stuff like a referee's call. Fans, bosses, parents, again, that game is another great example because Mexico's fans typically are very obnoxious. You could see them throwing beers and bottles and water at the opposing team while they're on the field. You hear them yelling a very, very homophobic slur every time the goalkeeper takes a penalty kick. So these kinds of things, if your attention is on those things, then your attention isn't on what is important now. It is on things that you cannot control, and you need to be able to refocus your attention and bring it back to what you can control, which is you. The weather, whether it's extremely hot, whether it's extremely cold, whether it's mild or nice or raining, always seems to be a factor for athletes. I hear the announcers, well, the weather is beating down on the athlete. You know, the weather is the same for everybody, so who cares? Don't waste a second on it, other than the fact that maybe you need to change your cleats to adjust to the field. But weather should never be a factor because I haven't seen anybody that can go out and control it. So the event is the event, right? The only thing that we control is our thought about it, which leads to our emotional and physiological response and can or cannot lead to adversity. So here's what I want you to do is on your piece of paper, you write down the list of times where you may or may not have had a event that led to you being out of control. And you write you in the little circle that you're going to draw on your piece of paper, and then you write all of the other things outside of there. This may be difficult or a challenge for you to do right here and now, but think back to a tournament when you lost control. Think back actually when you didn't play very well. 99% of the time, and that is a made-up stat just this second, when you look back at a poor performance, your attention was probably on the wrong thing. It could have been on what happened the night before. It could have been a fight with your parents, a fight with the better half, a boyfriend or girlfriend, husband or wife, fight with a sibling, fight with a teammate. or maybe you're thinking about you didn't play very well the last game. All of those things are out of your control because they are in the past, and we don't have the DeLorean time machine. We can't do anything about it. If we're thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous because there's a college scout out there, or my parents are in the stand, or I don't want to mess up, I really want to play bad. If you're worried about what might happen, your attention is on the wrong thing. So you need to be able to train your mind to recognize when it is starting to, your attention is on the wrong thing. And then you can write down what you control versus what you do not control. And then you can bring your attention back to where it should be, which is fully present. What do we control? Yep, ourselves. That's it. Simple as that. So this isn't the right time for it, but here are a few attitude statements that when you are becoming distracted, for you to be able to use, and you don't have to use them all at the same time, or feel free to copy these down or go to Sports Like Mike and buy the workbook, but you control your confidence. So you can look in a mirror and say, I control my confidence. I control my attitude, my effort, my happiness. If, the big if here, if I control my thoughts. I've never seen a coach that purposely wanted to lose a game. They don't play players or not play players because they don't like them. They play the best players in their mind of who should be on the game. If your attention is even for 5 seconds on the coach versus your effort and attitude in practice, it is on the wrong thing. The only thing you should be doing is giving your best effort and questioning yourself, what can I do to get better today in this particular moment? Then you know that your attitude is on the right thing. So how do you identify what is important now? How do you place your attention on that present moment? I already talked about not on the past and not on the future, because those can be, they can lead to a literal physiological response, because the message that you send to your brain is the message that the brain receives. And so your brain isn't going to be distinguish the reality from the fake if you create this angst-riddled scenario of all the things that could go wrong before you step onto the field. So it's important for you now to learn how to control or regulate to a certain degree your thought process. And I don't care if you're in sport, in your business, or in life, this is a valuable skill for all individuals to be able to use. So once again, where do you place your attention on what you can actually control? And what is that? Just yourself. And I beat that horse to death, I think. Not on weather, rest, coworkers, etc. Just on yourself. I am not saying that you don't contingency plan or have a strategy in place for tactical implementation of attacking a certain team. That's not what I'm saying at all. But once it's game time, within that strategy, you have roles and responsibility, and you control what you do within the realm of that strategy. That is what I'm talking about. So what do you need to focus on? The action that you need to do, not on the outcome. I hope that we win this game. I have to score, but doing all the little details correct to be able to build up to achieving that goal. Okay? Again, William James, what holds our attention determines our actions. That's a deep statement. I will let you ponder. You can write it down if you like. What holds attention determines actions, and then you can reflect back on it later. Or if you're really a diehard, Google William James and his work on attention. He's got a lot of things out there that will benefit you as an athlete. All right, so how do we do this, right? Our mind wanders. It is a fact. No matter what, our mind is going to wander, but we want to identify when it wanders. And typically, we all have patterns of what distracts us or irritates us. So that box to the right with red, awareness of mind wandering, is the first step. So I'm not talking about gentle, a dog runs on the field and you get distracted, or you hear the fan yell in the stands and your mind wanders and then comes back. But the mind wandering when you can't get it back is what I'm talking about. So being aware of that kind of thing, and if it happens on a regular basis, we can strengthen it through attentional endurance techniques, but being aware is the first step. Then you're going to establish a cue and routine. That is not the purpose of today, but I will give you an example from a Kevin Costner movie, For the Love of the Game. Google For the Love of the Game, and you should be able to find his Clear the Mechanism technique. And that is one of the best examples of a cue and routine, of tuning out all of the white noise and the garbage and the self-doubt during a baseball game. So just watch it. I'm not going to give it away. That is an example of a cue and routine, and cues and routine will be a separate webinar down the road outside of the Big Four, because it is very important. So then once you have your cue and routine, it allows you to come back and refocus on what's important now, which is whatever the task is at hand, right? Not the outcome, but what the task is at hand. Whatever your position is, whatever your sport is, whatever your job is, whatever your role is as a man or a woman at home, then you have to decide what is important now. All right. So here's the only part we're really going to talk about when it comes to attention and goals and objectives. Goals and objectives direct our attention. This is critically important because when you walk into practice, you need to know what you're working on to get better. When you go into a game, you need to know very clearly what your roles and responsibility are as a player, as an athlete, or when you go into work, you need to know your roles and responsibility. You should walk into every single day with some kind of an idea, some kind of a plan for life, if you will. You're not going to go, well, maybe you would on a vacation, but typically if we want to get somewhere, we're going to plan out the routes, right? So we want you to plan out what you're going to do every single day to get better. If you're walking into a practice, are you going to work on improving your left foot if you're right-footed? Are you going to work on today? I'm really going to focus. I'm going to ask the coach, actually, what do you want me to get better at today? And probably a lot of coaches don't understand how to implement mental skills. They're going to tell you what you're doing for that day and strip you of your creativity, but that's a whole nother point. So you should know within the structure of the practice what you want to improve on as a player. And maybe it's just going to be refocusing your attention. When my mind wanders and I think about how hungry I am, can I bring my attention back to the here and now? When we're standing in line, and I start to think about my boyfriend or girlfriend, can I bring my attention back to the people that are going in front of me so I don't make the same mistake that they made? Because as a coach, that drives me insane, watching a player 4 people back, or even right after the player that's going, make the same mistake the player in front of them made, because what aren't they doing? They're not paying attention. And I'm sure we've all been yelled at for that a time or two. So having a clear-cut goal or objective helps direct our attention and allows us to be able to overcome obstacles that may or may not get in our way. All right, so your goal for today. On your piece of paper, I'm going to give you your goal for today is that I want you to, when you get done watching this, that you do the baseline attention test. So you set the alarm on your phone for 3 minutes, and then you're going to write down your time. Your goal for mental training can be up to you. I would have a detailed plan of how I'm going to attack the next 3 weeks from an attentional standpoint, how I'm going to practice my attentional endurance, because I assume you're listening to this because you want to get better. And this activity is one of the best things, especially when combined with deliberate breathing, one of the best things that you can do for your overall mental strength and well-being as a human being, which is kind of redundant. Sorry about that. All right, in relation to setting goals, bulletjournal.com, they have a fantastic video. I'm not going to go into it other than to say I highly recommend that you go there, because without any fancy things, and for about $3 or $4, or even one of those cheap dollar notebooks, or just any paper, it will teach you how to set up goals for yourself and keep track of your progress, and then you can go back and adjust as necessary. Yeah, because you're not going to walk into a gym without any kind of a workout plan if you want real gains, and we want you to have real gains. So how do you take this to the next level? How do you rise above the rest of the competition as high as good old Brooke does here? Well, one of the ways is you purchase a workbook from sportslikeMike.com. It's going to have, as you can see, a variety of power-packed worksheets to be able to use for yourself, your team, your individual, your business. These skills, they are life skills. They are not exclusive to sport, and they are beneficial in every aspect on and off the field. You can see the first one. We already covered thoughts affect performance in episode 1. Today, where is your attention? The other big 4, diaphragmatic breathing and imagery, are coming up in the next day or so. And there are additional power-packed pages that have been proven, backed by empirical science and validation, written about in many, many books. And I have had success and failure crafting these to use with Special Forces and Navy SEALs, embassy personnel, other agency personnel, not to mention athletes from youth all the way to professional. The techniques in here, it will take you a little bit of work, but what is the difference between good and great? It's the mind. When all things are somewhat close when it comes to physical, technical, and tactical, the mind is what separates the good from the great. Today, as you can see, the workbook is loaded with a lot of additional skills besides the 4, besides the 8 actually to the left. You got a bonus section that's going to include the pre-performance routine, the refocus techniques, how to create an individual brand so you know what you stand for. That one's pretty much in depth. Deliberate practice and game day routine examples. If you are a coach, then it also includes team and culture worksheets, stolen from some of the industry best, like Anson Durance and Pat Riley and Pat Summit, John Wooden, to be able to craft what I have seen you work firsthand in creating high-performing teams and setting new barriers for teams that I've coached. If I have a niche, one of the things that I've been good at is taking teams that had never gone to state or never had a winning season and turn them around within the same year or within year 2, and we've had great success. So where do you find this stuff? You go to a Facebook page, you can type in Sports Like Mike, or you can go to sportslikeMike.com to purchase the workbook, or we have a thing called the Mental Obstacle Course. This is more geared towards coaches, although we are creating an individual standard as well, so that, and you'll see that you can join the Facebook page, either the Mental Obstacle Course or Sports Like Mike, and stay up to date with the new and improved versions. And if whatever you buy today, for the next calendar year, you're going to receive free updates every time we create a new version. You're going to get the new version of it. For you coaches, you'll get a step-by-step implementation guide on how to truly integrate mental skills into your practices. You're going to get at least 12 physical stations and cognitive stations. So we teach you how to specifically tire the athlete out from a physical standpoint and integrate the cognitive techniques as well. Instructions on what to look for as a coach, because your view of observation is going to be drastically different than the sports-specific view, and how to debrief and teach the athletes what it was you were looking for and how to improve. I will also give you private access to a Mental Obstacle Course Facebook page where you can learn from other coaches, and we'll update live stream chats, etc., etc., etc. It will basically pay for itself, because I don't know of any summer camp around right now that is running any kind of mental obstacle course or mental skills training. So if you want to supplement the old income, you can advertise your summer camp as being the only one in the area that's running true mental skills program within their summer camp. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me at mike@sportslikemike.com. Don't forget, we are good for not just sport, but business as well. Life, not just at the workplace or on the field, but these skills transfer over to life and learning how to enjoy, be more compassionate and happier, and have a higher level of well-being. We will be creating an individual home version for people that want to do body weight workouts at home. If you want to be part of the beta, just send me the I want to be part of the beta in the subject line to mike@sportslikemike.com. And I will take a select group of contributors or individuals for testing the home version before we roll that out to be used or sold online. Everything that you have heard today and everything that we talked about is backed by validated science and been fine-tuned over the past decade or so, 2 decades of coaching, teaching, and being a mental strength and conditioning coach for special forces. That's it. That's all we've got for today. Short and to the point. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, stay tuned for episode 3, which will be on the magic elixir, which is diaphragmatic breathing. Thank you and have a great day. Don't forget to train your mind today.